on the Natural Healing and Wellness Collaborative. They got a lot
this is on the Breakfast Show.
The Breakfast Show. Whoops, I'm sorry. So the Breakfast Show got a lot of boob shot.
Yeah, you did. Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry. That was kind of funny. And then over here, and this is on Oklahoma Healing Connections page, you didn't get any boob shot, sorry. But I had a lot of technical difficulties. The band was alive and kicking. But I think...
Actually, if you want to see the beginning with all the, chit-chat and whatever going, go over to the morning show, the breakfast show. The breakfast show.
We don't even know the name of our own damn show.
Right. Go over to the breakfast show Facebook page, and you can catch the full video instead of...
the chit-chat, the boobs, whatever, on there. But I love doing the breakfast show. It was...
Do you know I have a hard time sleeping on Tuesday nights?
Well, I don't.
I do, because it's like the breakfast shows. What are we going to talk about? Okay, we didn't talk about what we're going to talk about. I don't know what we're talking about tomorrow. Maybe I should look up some topics real quick.
And usually we'll walk in and we'll look at each other.
There we go.
Blah, 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 blah.
What are you going to talk about?
So, I guess in essence, we really need to share with people that this is totally from the hip. There is nothing scripted. In fact, when it is scripted, it's awkward.
It is awkward, and the show's horrible.
And I'm like, God, I hated that. That sucked. Thinking in my head, I don't tell her that, because,
Well, I think we've actually said it a few times. That
sucked,
not a good show.
Oh.
So we're better when we're impromptu. So
I mean, and it's like all of my videos, every time I do a video, every time I do a podcast, the breakfast show when we're doing things live, or it just shows up on YouTube, whatever, all of those are done completely unscripted, and usually it's like 4 minutes of conversation maybe right before, but hey, what are we going to talk about today? I don't know, we'll just let's wing it,
We're good. And then we have conversations off camera, though, about, we probably should really sit down and plan out the topics for the next couple of months.
Every time. We do that every time. But what I like about that is the reason that we just say it, but we don't do it.
Yeah.
Is that life is ever changing and evolving. And you may have a topic today that's a real hot topic. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a store, doesn't it, right? And
I love that.
And 3-4 weeks down the road, it's old hat.
Right.
It's like, who? What are you talking? That happened. Oh my gosh, that happened a long time ago. Who cares?
Right.
Because it really ended up being, where it wasn't true, or it wasn't exactly what they said, or whatever. And you're like, yeah. So I'm like, okay.
Oh, so hot topic. This is fresh off the press, actually. Coming down I-240 in Oklahoma City, at one of the apartment complexes on the south side of the road, there was news trucks, there was fire trucks.
Today?
There was, on the way here. Police vehicles everywhere.
Okay, so I wonder what's happening with that.
Know?
If you know, hey, post it, give us a note, send me a message. What's going on in my hood, man? What is going on in my hood?
Who's sending you love notes and kissy faces?
I don't know. Maybe it's my prince. Who knows? And there's Heather. Hey, good morning, Heather. So I'm really kind of excited. I'm really, really, really kind of excited. Well, October. Think about this. October, November, and December, the last 3 months, that's the last quarter of the year.
That's right.
That's right. It is your opportunity. I mean, we look at 2020. Oh, my
I still hung
God.
my framed, if you haven't seen this, you need to come in the office and see it, because I'm not going to put it up here. I have framed glasses, and there's 3 pairs of glasses. And the first one's clear. The second one is tinted,
translucent,
and then the third one is really dark. And so we labeled those from the bottom up: 2018, 2019 to 2020. 2020 being the clear ones, because we're going to have perfect vision for 2020. Oh man, have we had perfect vision.
Okay, and I was going to say, let's throw this into metaphors. Okay, and it's kind of like, don't be vague with what your desires are.
That's right.
Do not be vague. Because we both sat there and said, we want to have clear vision of what's ahead of us in 2020. Because this is our year. Seriously, you know, that's my alter ego there. Rainbow.
But we seriously said that.
But we seriously said that. We seriously
That was our goal this
said
year.
that. And I'm like, and do I have clear vision? Oh, yes.
Too clear.
Is this not the year that we have been, it's like we've been living life and doing things, and we actually have like almost put blinders onto a lot of things. And then every obstacle, every challenge that we have met, that we've crossed upon in 2020, has opened your eyes up to realities.
So we see what's ahead.
You know, I know that 2021 is going to be a difficult beginning, but it is going to be a phenomenal year because everybody will be totally awakened, not woke. Okay, not woke. We're not talking about being woke, folks. We're talking about being awakened. And when you're awakened, you can make really powerful choices for yourself.
That's right.
Decisions for your family that help, hey, good morning, Melody, that help everybody come together and be successful and have a sense of that success and winning and being in a good place. Regardless of what's going, because I watched some of that debate last night, and I'll tell you the truth, I fell asleep. It was like two bickering old men. I love politics, don't get me wrong, I love civic duty, but I was like, that was ridiculous, so I'm going to leave that up there. So I'm like, it's in 2020, this is the opportunity, this is the last quarter of the year for you to really get a head start. And I liked what you'd said before the show, it was the pre...
Oh, I
caught her off guard.
You caught me off
She's over
guard,
there
like,
going, shut the hell
what
up,
did I
let
say
me
before
talk.
the show? I don't remember. I'm sitting here like
You're talking
racking
about
my brain.
pre-New Year's resolution.
Solutions. Yeah.
So you're already prepping. You know, you're saying, because I look at this, today is September 30th. This is the last day of 3 of the 4 quarters, okay, of the year. I'm taking out my trash today. You got it? I'm taking out trash.
I like that.
I am taking it to the curb. I'm eliminating, and I suggest you all do this too. I am eliminating the BS. I am eliminating the minutia. I am eliminating the blinders that hold me back from being the best me that I can be, and that means being the best wife, being the best mother, being the best grandma, being the best sister, being the best friend, being the best healer for you in that moment,
being the best community member,
doing my part to make the world a better place. And so today is the day I cut ties with what I call my trash.
There you go.
Today's it.
I love it.
Today is the last day of my dark night of the soul. 2020 was my dark night. I mean, and it really started in 19. It really started in 2019.
Oh my goodness! That for some reason that made me think of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jen, Granny, don't you want some possum stew? Can you hear me stew? I can be Granny. Oh my God!
You could be.
I could be the hippie Granny. Come over here and try my concoction. Shit, I think you need. No, I could have a good time with that. Could you imagine the Beverly Hillbillies as hippies in a commune? Oh, I could see Jethro and Ellie Mae. I could see them fitting in, but yeah, Granny, she'd probably scare the hell out of everybody.
Probably.
Granny, we just want weed. Where's the LSD? She's cooking in the kitchen. Hell yeah. Buy some stew, fool. Boom. Oh God, I love it. I stopped watching TV in 2020, and I watched all like old shows, and I like love it.
I haven't watched that one in a long time.
They make me laugh.
They're hilarious.
They
and
are.
It's true, good humor.
Oh yeah.
It's not like crude and and things. It's actually really pretty clean humor.
I was going to say, in 99% of them, you can really sit around with your whole family and watch them. And I think that 2020, part of the things that we experienced in 2020 is really redefining our boundaries, but reconnecting with our family and redefining those boundaries.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot more in my neighborhood. I've noticed a lot more families out on walks together, riding their bikes together, or whatever.
And it's kind of like when it's a pain in the butt to go to a restaurant, then you're like, oh, hell, I'll just go to the grocery store and get something and we'll cook.
Right.
And then you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And then the day you go to Chili's, you're like, this stuff tastes like a Swanson's frozen dinner. You're like, oh.
True.
And you're like, I just want my mom to make some baby back ribs,
I would never forget the year that I went gluten-free, which that's in the works again, but anyway, the year that I went gluten-free to go through some healing and stuff, we went into an Olive Garden, and they have a gluten-free pasta. So they don't cross-contaminate, I can tell you that. So there's no cross-contamination. So if you were celiac, really gluten-free, you can eat it Olive Garden, oddly enough. But they bring out this is supposedly really good macaroni and cheese, gluten-free, in a foil pan. And it wasn't heated all the way through the center. It was still frozen a little bit.
Okay, so you're saying gluten-free at that particular restaurant, and it's not cross-contaminated, and all I'm seeing is that there's a corner in the kitchen that says gluten-free, do not cross, and they're wearing PPE. I touched some flour,
Right? But the rosemary steak is very good.
Yeah, so I had to make the sounds of a respirator in the gluten-free zone. We're gluten-free.
Gotcha.
I
get you.
I'm like, really, they don't cross-contaminate. I was like, okay, I get it. It's kind of like, don't eat here because we have peanuts on the counter. And I'm like, I got it.
Well, I was being facetious when I said that because it came in a foil pan. It was still frozen, so it's definitely not cross-contaminated because they're not even.
I thought you were serious. Oh my God! I thought it was like on the menu said
No.
we don't cross-contaminate the products.
I was being a little facetious.
No, seriously, I thought it said that. I was just like, oh, that's kind of jacked up, Because most of the time it'll say, hey, we have peanuts and soy here, so so if you're allergic to it, don't eat here, So I was like, wow. I know it was like, you have to be really, because I think soy products are starting to upset my stomach. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, foods with soy in them. So I go on the internet, Google, I love you for this stuff. I look at alkaline diet or whatever. And so I wrote foods with soy or soy product foods or whatever. And there's like list of stuff that's soy, has soy in it in one form or another. And I'm like, my God, I'm just going to have to like eat off the earth floor.
And if you, well, it's probably better for you. If you look at your ingredient list, there's so many different names for soy also.
Exactly.
So you have that. So if you're not well versed and done a whole lot of research, you're going to get it whether you like it or not.
Well, and here's my concern is that probably not, and I might be exaggerating, so if I'm exaggerating, let me know the correct amount. But let's say 90% of your soy that's being produced is GMO, right? that means that they've pumped a bunch of hormones and chemicals and crapola into that soy that's supposed to be so healthy for you. You know, your tofu and your TVP, and you find out this stuff is all filled up with this junk. And I think it's like some of it is even estrogen heavy. So we're getting estrogen heavy into the bodies of women that probably don't need that excessive estrogen in food products. And then, why are my boys who are eating soy product getting boobs? I called them moobs, and I had some guy get really sarcastic with me. And I was like, well, because it's called gynecomastia or something like that. And I was like, that's kind of a long word, and moobs was a lot shorter. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I use the word moobs, but boys are not supposed to have breasts, okay, unless they're going through transition.
Or they're working out really hard and they can flex them.
Oh, that's always kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. Especially when they do the little and I'm like, that is so cool. How do they do that? Because I can't do that and I'm a chick, you know. So, you know, but, you know, going back on this, being aware, I mean, how many of you have been researching things online to learn about your health? You know, or learn about COVID, or how, what it, you know, and you're like, who wants to know how a cycle of a virus is? You know, but some of you have been out there researching these things, and you look at these, so it's like 2020 has been your year of awakening.
Yeah.
And this is the last season, that last 3 months, I was like 90 days, 90 days-ish, that you have this opportunity to get 2020 in a sense of order, to get that jump start on 2021, whether that's coming in and getting a health, doing the health analysis.
Ooh, now's a really good time to come in and do the health analysis.
Definitely, because how many of you have been locked up for 60 days? Locked up for 6 months, you know, and define what locked up means. You know, have you been wearing a mask daily for 6 months? And if you've been wearing a mask daily for 6 months, where's your health? Where's your pH? Where's your lung capacity? Where's your PaCO2? You know, we can look at these on the health and our quantum resonance analyzer. We can look at these and give you insight to it.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
And I'm just, you know, it's the last quarter of the year. This year's we've been quarantined and not quarantined, and wearing masks and not wearing masks, so up and down. Now's a really good time to get a plan for your nutrition, because we already know that we're going through most of October with mandated masks here in Oklahoma City. I mean, I'm sure that other places will go even to the end of the year, but no matter what happens, we're still all going to be gun shy even after quarantine and everything's lifted. We're all going to be gun shy for a while about going out without a mask on, because we've been conditioned now to do that. So I'm thinking of all of the goodies coming up.
I'm over here
for the holidays.
Yeah, for the holidays.
You know, all the extra food, because we tend to binge on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you know, now's a good time to have some sort of vision of where you want your health to go, because naturally, once you've created that vision, you will not be so drawn to those unhealthy foods over the holidays.
You know, to be honest, I don't think this year I'm going to do a lot of holiday feasting.
Really? Yeah.
I realize I've been doing like the intermittent fasting, and I can't eat as much when I sit down to eat. And in fact, if I overindulge, I am sick for 3 days.
So I experimented with this intermittent fasting, because to me, it feels like it goes against everything that we've learned and been taught about eating 6 small meals a day and
3 squares.
And, yeah. And so I started doing a little research and experimenting on it. And there was one day that I was just, I don't know, it was just a bloaty day. You know, bloated, you know, where you just feel ugh. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm just not going to eat until 1 o'clock tomorrow. let's see what happens. And in that 24-hour period, my body released that bloatiness and that, you know, the puffiness and all that stuff just in 24 hours. And I thought, well, okay, that's interesting. I like that. So it's interesting. It's been a little interesting experiment.
It has been.
I'm not 100% on it. But.
Rob Lowe and Joe Rogan had on one of the Joe Rogan Experience episodes. We're talking about their fasting, and I think one does like eats once every 24 hours, and the other one does like every 14 hours, something like that. And then my brother-in-law and I were talking this weekend, Zach, and he was telling me he's been doing the carnivore diet, which is what Joe Rogan did. I want to say for 2 months.
Okay.
And he was talking about how how our energy levels would go up and come down and go up and come down. They were real labile, you know. And so you would, you know, what do? You tell them when they hit down, we want to go run and get carbs, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so now we're having crappy eating habits. So he said he went on he calls it the carnivore diet, and so that's all he's eating is like meat. It's like meat and dairy.
Okay.
And, you know, so it's like the high protein. And I was like, well, it's a high protein.
Yeah.
You know, he's not doing any carbs. I didn't see salad. You know, that's all they were eating were like meat and cheese or meat and dairy. And he's like, dairy doesn't agree with his body anyway. So he's eating a lot of meat. And I'm like, when I saw him, because I'd seen him a couple of weeks beforehand. And when I saw him, he looked like he had lost like 50 pounds. So I didn't ask him anything. I was like, maybe I just remembered him more fluffy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But he really looked like he had, and both my brother-in-laws, because they're both kind of big, bulky guys.
Right.
Both of them look like they have reduced down.
Oh, wow.
But they've been focusing, I don't know so much about Kyle, but on that one, Zach, he looked really good. And the other thing that I noticed was his dang skin looked clear.
Oh, wow.
And he said that all of his joint pain that he had been experiencing had greatly reduced down. So I was sitting there thinking on Sunday as I was eating the steak, I was like, oh, I could really do this carnivore diet. And then I ended up being like sick for 3 days because I really overindulged a lot on Sunday. I ate tons of food. And then I was just been sick since. So I agree. I think you're right. And I think that you have to figure out what your body's doing.
Yeah.
And if you're not out there, you know, hustling, running, and, you know, extreme workout every day, we probably don't need the 6 meals. We probably don't even need the 3 meals
Right.
a day.
Right.
And that, you know, in essence, we've kind of taught ourselves to get a little fluffy.
Yep. But that extra estrogen in your soy doesn't help that fluffiness either.
Yeah. So, you know, so actually, I'm not going to do the carnivore because that's not probably conducive to my lifestyle. I form a lot of uric acid, and that means kidney stones. So I am going to go natural though, you know, and it's just whole foods. And I was like, I love Worcestershire sauce, you know, like on my steaks and stuff. And I was like, full of soy, you know, I love soy sauce. You know, come on, it's, you know, that's pretty simplistic.
So a good substitute for those is Dr. Bragg's minerals. And it's a dark liquid like soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce.
Really?
And it's really yummy.
Okay, so I learned something new.
I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Bragg's. So
okay, so I'll go to when I go to the health food grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I go to Green Acres, sometimes I go to natural grocers. I love Sprouts Meat Market though.
Yeah,
They've got a nice meat market at Sprouts. If
Yeah,
you've
they
not
do.
ever shopped there, that's a really good meat market, especially for the prime rib. Delicious.
Really?
Standing rib roast, they have the best in Oklahoma City when it comes to like the fresh meat. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Sprouts over there.
That's good to know.
But, yeah.
So, what's going on?
Well,
What are we up to?
Okay, certification classes start in October.
Okay.
And so there's a difference, you know, let's clarify certificate of completion and a certification.
A certificate of completion is when you come to a class and you participate, hopefully, even if you don't participate, you receive a certificate at the end of the class
saying
that you attended.
that you went.
You know, a certification class is usually longer. You have more intense level of study, and you have to take a test in order to receive your certification. Okay, so there's a difference. Certificate class, certificate of completion, and I'm not trying to sound condescending. I'm just want to really put it out there. Certificate of completion, you sat in a chair, maybe you participated, maybe you didn't, I don't know, that's up to you. And you get a piece of paper at the end of the class saying that you did it. A certification class, you attend class, you have to participate, you have to do your homework or whatever that is.
You get graded.
You get graded, in essence, and then you take a test at the end of that to establish that you have the knowledge base and that you can demonstrate that knowledge base appropriately for whatever course that you studied. So we offer both kinds of classes. We have a certificate of completion, and then we have a certification. We have certification programs. And our certification programs are starting back up in October.
Yes.
So if you were going to class pre-COVID and COVID hindered you from your progress, now is the time to get back into your program. Because I have a couple of people that need to come back, and if they don't want to come back for some of my classes, I am offering them online. But if you like for the attunement part, if you have not been attuned, you have to come in person. I do not do internet attunements.
Okay. So, and any of my students that got cut off because of COVID, then just come on back.
Yep, we're ready. October
Just come
starts
back.
it.
Let's get
October
get it
starts
done.
our life again, you know. Let this last quarter of the year be your quarter of the year. That you shine, that you learn, that you grow, that you do all of the beautiful things that define who you are as a human being. That's why today is Take Out the Trash Day.
That's right. I love it. I love it. So,
Why don't you do? Well, you got something to cook. You got something to cook.
I got something cooking.
She got something cooking. Tell us what you got cooking.
What have I got cooking? So I got set up to do Groupon. So I am starting Groupon. They go live tomorrow. I only take one. Just one.
One per person.
One per person. One per person. And that's not one of each service per person. That's one per person.
One per person. Groupons, you know, and I was like, I started out probably after about my first year in practice. I went ahead and somebody goes, hey, do Groupon. Everybody will find out who you are. And so I started a Groupon campaign, and I loved it the first year. I absolutely loved it. I met the most coolest people in the world. Really had a good time, really started getting my business growing, and we were really, really busy. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. However, I was, back in those days, I didn't have really good boundaries with others. And so people would buy 10 Groupons and they would come in. And at first I was like, you know, because you sold 100 Groupons this month, you know, you feel really good. But when you look at it, it is very devaluing to that service and what you're doing in that. So one of the things that I would say was that I accept one Groupon per person. And people sometimes still would cross over on that boundary, and they would buy 10.
Right.
We don't make any money off of those Groupons. As a provider, we don't make a ding dang dime. That all goes back into paying the rent or whatever. We don't put anything into our pocket at all.
Yeah.
In that. So that first one is a great marketing tool for us as practitioners to be able to use that and to meet people and for them to meet us in person.
That's right.
It's a fantastic tool. It's wonderful. You really get to connect with other people and you get to try something that maybe you normally would never try. You know, you might think, oh, reflexology, I don't know about that. You know, people touching my feet, that kind of makes me feel weird. You know, but you go in and you end up getting a reflexology treatment, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can breathe better. I hear stuff like that all the time.
Yeah. My sinuses are finally draining. Yeah.
Yay, you know.
heard that
Or I
one
got
from it.
pregnant, you know. That's because I've been working on clearing that womb area, baby, you know.
Yeah, and my other favorite is older people who have plantar fasciitis or a lot of foot pain come back a week later and go, my feet haven't hurt for the last week.
I know, and you're like, amazing. Yeah.
That's what reflexology can do for you.
But, you know, it's like, but the Groupons themselves, they're a great marketing tool for you to meet your clients and your clients to meet you. It is not meant to be a coupon for a cheap, and I'm using that term rather loosely, for a cheap session.
Right.
You know, I think that it's a great tool, and I really enjoyed that first year of it. It became my beast of burden.
Right.
Because, you know, I did have people that wouldn't listen to what I was asking of them, and they would turn around and buy a Groupon and come back several times over. And it got to the point that I had to actually fire clients.
Yeah.
And ban them.
Yeah.
You know, from coming in. I know this. People are like, what? And I'm like, even if you paid full price, because, you know, sometimes they would be pretty rude about it. You know, there was a couple of people that were pretty rude. They would come in, and because we had several practitioners at one point, pre-COVID, right? And they would buy, and so they would use a Groupon on each one of the girls or the guys that were working, and then they would make another round coming through, and they would kind of staff split. You know, they would go, well, Cookie Bear doesn't do that, and well, you know, Maris does this, you know, and things like that. So there's a lot of detriment to it, but I hope that it works really well for you, and that I know you talked about your campaign, and you've got a couple of different things listed on there. What are some of the things?
There's 3 different reflexology sessions. So there's one with hot wax, and there's one with a chakra balancing, and then there's just a regular old get your feet rubbed thing. And I think I also listed those as a choice of hand, foot, or face.
Ooh.
So you get to choose. And then I've put up life coaching sessions. So there's either a single session or a 2-part session, your choice. And then the health scan.
I love that health scan.
Oh,
I
it's so
love
amazing.
the health scan.
There's couple of different options on the health scan. So.
Very, very cool. No, I love the health scan.
Yeah, the health scan's amazing. You really want to take advantage of that one.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
If there's anything that people do at the end of this year, in this last quarter, is may I suggest that you do yourself a favor and do a little civic duty. Look up and read and learn about how our government works, as it was determined and kind of set in foundation from our founding fathers, from the Revolutionary War. We start with the Constitution. Read the Constitution. Understand what it says and what it means. Learn about the 3 branches of the government: the judicial, the executive, and the legislative. I was going to go the House and Congress. Understand. One of the things that I got into a really big argument with somebody this morning, and they were like, said F Trump, F Trump, F Trump, F politics. I don't really care. And I was like, having that attitude of F Trump, F Biden, F anybody in politics, I don't really care, is what really stood out. Okay, you need to care about what's happening in your government. And whether that's your city government, your county, your state, your
National,
federal,
whatever.
God forbid I'm saying global government, but it's really important that you understand how it was created and determined how it was going to be ran and what is happening on that day-to-day basis. Are they serving their public the way that they agreed to when they said, I will uphold the Constitution? It's really important. Whether you find politics fascinating or boring, it's just like driving a car. It's important for you to know how to put that key in, turn it over, keep it maintained. How do you check your oil? How do you check your gas? That's important. Just as important as it is for you to understand how your government works.
That's right.
And, one thing, was like when that person was going off and saying, F the government, I don't care. And I was like, does it not bother you that particular senators, and I'm not going to name names because it's not about naming names, but it's just about a practice that senators and congressmen and women are charging their bar tabs on airplanes to the American taxpayer? When did you get a drink for free?
Yeah.
Little things like that, $36,000 here and $48,000 there adds up to a lot of money that we could be doing something really phenomenal for our country, for our people, for our healthcare system, for our welfare system, that we could be providing money and support and food products to food banks that provide food to the community. I'm like, there's so many things that our tax dollars are being diverted to that are negative, like a slush fund for sex scandals. Yeah, and it's bipartisan. It's not just one side, it's bipartisan. I was reading there was $19 million in payout. What could we have done with $19 million as a nation? We could have done a lot. That could have been a lot of kids getting computers and things that they need for school so that they are advanced in their technology. That can be food, that can be medicine,
It can be a college education. For kids who can't afford it.
That can be housing for our homeless. There's so much out there. And it was like, and when you're unaware of what's really happening around you, and this is what 2020 has been about, that clear vision. I would go ahead and get that picture and show it.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that you are accountable and responsible for your own care. That's why it's called self-care, and putting into that balance. And when you're living in a lifestyle that holds you back from knowing what's around you and what's important, there's that picture. So in 2018, we were all cloudy vision. And then we started to see what things really are. And then in 2020, it's right there out there in front of you. And you can either choose to see it with this, or this. It doesn't make a difference. But I'm empowering you. Empower yourself. She's empowering you. And we're here to help you learn to have clear vision of what's ahead of you and what to do and how to get to where you have that sense of peace and success in your life.
And that means everything from knowing and understanding how your government works to your own personal health. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and they're like, can you help me with my health? But their prescription list is a mile long.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? This is going to take me a lot of time to figure out what herbs I can give you. Or suggest for you.
Yeah.
Because to make sure there's no interaction.
If you're taking a handful of pills a day that your physician has prescribed for you, you are a slave to Big Pharma.
Amen.
Straight up. You are a slave to Big Pharma.
And you got to take responsibility for your health. Can't tell how many times I've talked to people that are like, well, when's the last time you had lab work done? I mean, come on, we all know by the time you hit 50, you've had a buttload of lab work done, for one reason or another. And most of the time they can't remember, or if they can't, oh yeah, my doctor just did that like 2 weeks ago.
He said everything was fine.
Okay, where's your lab reports?
those lab reports belong to you. You're the patient.
Where
they belong to you.
Where are your lab
should,
reports?
You should know what your lab results are. You should know where they are within normal range, because you can be really low or really high and be symptomatic,
That's
and because it's in that little numeric range, they're not going to address it.
No. Hey, my baby boy's watching.
Is that Daniel?
Yeah, it's
Hey,
Daniel.
Daniel. Yeah, so when you look at that, it was like, this is a year,
These are,
it's
time to take responsibility.
yeah, this has been my year. I am not gonna be a slave to anybody, anything anymore. And that means I'm not gonna be a slave to Big Pharma. I'm not gonna be a slave to negative relationships. Just because that's the way we always do it. No, that's not the way we always do it. We have the right to change.
That's right.
We have the right
That's right.
to live in a life that we are respected, that we are loved, that we are cherished, and that we have integrity and honesty in between each other, and that we can learn to live. I mean, we can learn to agree to disagree.
Oh yeah.
But, and it was, I kind of, remember back in May, everybody gets all pissed off at me and starts posting all this stuff. I can't believe you're this kind of person. I just can't be friends with you anymore. And it was the people that call themselves tolerant. And I was like, we forgot to learn how to sit down and debate, which was obviously last night at the presidential debate. That was awful and ridiculous and embarrassing. And then we forgot how to learn to agree to disagree and love that person because you love that person, and that they have some intrinsic, like she's got an intrinsic value, they have this intrinsic value, and I can learn to love, and I can love that person. But if you have relationships and work relationships and personal relationships where they're taking advantage of you or treating you like dirt, you don't have to be a part of that vibration.
That's right.
You can stand up and release that. It's okay to love people from afar without being in the middle of their minutia.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I can love you from afar. I don't have to be connected.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a daily connection or whatever.
No, not at all.
So it's important to know. So we are here to empower you, to help you, to teach you,
To help you
to give you the tools that you need,
cut that negative chains and
yeah.
bondage
and to take responsibility for your life.
in your grooviness.
That's right.
And being your true self, living up to who you really want to be, and not living in the shadow of what other people think you should be or could be or would be or
Ought to be.
yeah. No, I want to be me, and I want you to be free to be you, and that we can learn, to find that common ground, because I think everybody has common ground.
Yeah.
On that, but
We all have common ground. We all live where we live.
well,
we all live in
metaphorically speaking, physically speaking, we all have common ground, and it's called the earth, Oh, rainbow. No. But,
You live in this world with everybody else. We at least have that in common.
That's the very first part of common ground.
There you go.
We're all here in the same plane.
That's right.
And then the second part is that we're all breathing oxygen.
There we go.
Okay, so then what's that third? So it's like you start realizing, I really have a lot in common with that guy that's over in Pakistan. And you realize, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to go home and hug their family and have a groovy day.
Yeah.
Groovy evening.
Yep. So, and that doesn't matter what your political views are or anything else. At the end of the day, we all pretty much want the same thing.
We want to have peace, love, harmony, and feel some joy in our heart,
That's right. That's
for what that's worth, right?
Right. So, and I believe that even people who make bad choices, that's what they want when they get home.
I agree. I think sometimes
it's just like, even though we have different values and maybe extreme, but I think that pretty much everybody in the world wants the same thing.
They want to go home and just enjoy their life and enjoy
Yeah.
their sacred space and
Mhm.
be who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really very important to self. But don't live in other people's shadows and don't live by what other people's expectations are. It's important for you to be who you are and to stand up for who you are. And doing that means that you've got to look around you in the world and see what's really, not what's really happening, but what is the reality of it. And I think that for us as Americans here in the U.S., especially during this election time, read your Constitution. Understand how our government was set up and why it was set up in that fashion, and it was to protect us all and to have that system of checks and balances. So if there's anything that you're going to do, go download it, mark it on your computer or your phone, whatever, and start reading the Constitution.
You want a good book? Cleon Skousen's The Making of America.
Oh, very cool.
It's a very good book. A very thick book. It's more like a textbook, but it will help you understand exactly how our Constitution was written.
Exactly.
So,
and there's a lot of good things happening as well as there's a lot of not very good things happening, but let's focus on the cool stuff.
and let me throw this out there too, because I know that there's people out there that don't agree even with the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that if we're all educated and you still don't agree with it, then we can at least have an educated conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of this whole, well, and we've talked about this before. I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't like him. I'm not going to vote for him. Okay. Why do you not like him? And they can't say.
You can't
Or
say.
your candidate that you're choosing, why do you like your candidate? And they can't say.
And they can't say. Well, because
And so I'm gonna we apply this to natural health, allopathic health versus Western medicine. It's the same thing. If you're not educated, then how can you make a good choice?
you can't make a good choice.
You can't make a good choice because you don't know all the options. I'm gonna throw one more further, even into having a baby. How you want your pregnancy and your birth to go. I mean, if you're not educated on your options, then how can you make the best choice for your life?
All right, you're going to buy a car. Do you not spend some time researching cars to see exactly which vehicle you truly want to buy?
Yeah.
It's not
Are
always
you test
based on-
driving?
Are you test driving it? Are you reading all of the
stats?
stats and
What's
the
the
data on
gas
it?
mileage and all of that business?
Do you go on Car and Driver? Are you looking on YouTube? What are other people's experiences? What is that one I think there's like where you can look up and see like all of the bad aspects of a car?
Consumer
Consumer Reports.
Yeah.
You put all of this effort into buying a car, hopefully, so that you have a car that lasts you 10, 15 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you do the same thing about your house, your government, your
health,
your education,
Yeah. Why are you not?
your religion, how has your religion changed? If you were, Catholic, how has the Catholic Church changed? If you're Baptist, how has the Baptist Church changed? How have views changed? Is your church, is it pro-abortion or is it pro-life? What does that mean? It's like tons of things because sometimes people have no clue they'll say, oh, I'm this, but they have no clue why.
Why?
Well, I'm Democrat just because my daddy was Democrat and his daddy was Democrat, or I'm a Republican because my daddy said Democrats are dumb. My dad used to call them dads, and I was like, oh, that's such a term of endearment. And he was like, no, it's dumbass Democrats. And I was like, I never knew my dad was a Republican. Really floored me. I thought he was a Democrat my entire life, And I'm like, whoa, that was
my mother that was
I
a
have no
Republican. And he's
idea.
like, oh no, honey, she was straight up Democrat. And I'm like, okay. You know, that was jacked up, you know. But it was like, are you something?
And why?
And
Are
why?
you
Why are you? Whether it's your religion or your, you know.
this? Oh, I don't know. I just do it because no.
Because my daddy did it, my mama did it, and my
Is that
husband.
not the definition of peer pressure?
Definitely.
I mean,
to me, it's like you never even gave them a breath to do their own thing. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So just educate yourself and be willing to have intelligent conversation.
Definitely.
Intelligent conversation. So, if any of you follow my Facebook page, you know that if I ever put anything up that's semi-controversial and people start arguing, I just go delete
She
it.
deletes it. I don't.
I delete it.
I
It's
know.
gone. No,
I-
you don't
I
fuss
kinda-
about it. It's gone.
I don't know. It kind of gets. I kind of feel energized when I
Do you?
start getting my feathers ruffled about something. Because I'm. But I tell you, I call them keyboard warriors, because what I have noticed is that people can get over here on Facebook and Twitter, and they can post all this stuff, even if they know you face to face. We can talk some shish
That's right.
in a text
That's
message,
right.
in a tweet, in a post.
Yep.
But face to face, 99.9% of us do not have the nerve to say the stuff to someone's face that we sure can put into a tweet or a post
Yep.
or a text message. You cannot, and I'm saying, and I'm gonna, you're pissed off at somebody, and you can take that phone and you can tweet some shit. And pardon me if I offend anybody here. And send it and go, and then you delete. I can't believe I said that. Well, it's still out there, and that person still received that message.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how hard it is for you to sit down and with pen and ink write that same stuff that you just text?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do it in pen and ink.
What a great challenge.
Yep.
If you have something to say to someone and you need to be heard, because that's what I kind of like to think of it more of a I need my feelings and my opinion heard, you
Mhm.
know, then sit down and do it with paper. Don't text it or tweet it.
Because
Can you do that? I mean, I think that's an excellent,
people, I'm telling you, you
Assignment.
can type, you can tweet, you can post, and do all of that electronically, right? Totally different vibration. But if you get a pen to a paper and try to write that same stuff out, I guarantee you it will be very difficult for you to carry it through. As in putting it in an envelope, throwing a stamp on it, and boom, posting it in the post box. It'll make you sick
Agreed.
to your stomach thinking about that you just, whatever you just tweeted. Now, me, I don't say something I don't mean. Even if it's the really shittiest, horrible thing at that given moment, that's what I felt, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And sometimes my words can be very curt and very cutting. I get that. I understand that. That's been part of my dark night of the soul over the last year, is learning about that and it becoming very, very aware to me. And it has not been at all a comfortable journey. It sucked. It
I think-
totally sucked.
I think a lot of us have had sucky journeys this year.
you
You
know,
know, I mean, and not that everybody's had the same sucky journey, but I mean, it's been a rough year for a lot of us for that reason.
yeah, I would say probably the only thing that I've changed in what I say is I might take a couple extra breaths before I let it out, so that it's said differently.
Mhm.
But I learned that over the past 8 years, being back, and when I say back in business, doing this again, that I think that people have this vision about healers, that we are all in this sense of total harmony, that I'm frickin' Buddha. I'm not Buddha. I'm not Jesus. I'm not God. I am not any divine essence, as in that state of perfection and nirvana. I'm on my journey just like you. I might be 50 steps ahead of some people, or others, you know, and then I might be 50 steps behind.
Sure.
But I've got my niche that I can bring to the table, and that's where I'm a star at. And so I look at it like that, and I was like, and one thing that I think freaks people out is that when a healer becomes angered and expresses that anger, you know, or dislike of something or whatever, and everyone's just like, oh my God, you're not that together person. No, are you saying I'm not allowed to have a view?
Yeah.
That everything has to be peaches and harmony, and it's not. You know, that's why you have healers, folks. You have healers that help you release that shish in your life or in your world and move away from that and gain your peace through it.
Right.
So it was like, so for me, I feel that I will try to be more mindful with my words in 2021, but I will never stop talking my truth or speaking my truth. I will never stop that. And if I tell you something and you perceive it as a negative or whatever, then that's your journey. That's you.
Yeah.
I will always speak a truth. And again, going back, I find common ground with each person. I find something to love within each person, but I can love you from afar. I don't have to be intertwined in your, and nor do you have to be intertwined in mine.
Right.
So,
Right. Cut the drama. No drama in 2021.
that's it, no drama. I don't have time for it. I only have time for success.
That's
I
right.
only have time for looking forward.
That's
I
right.
only have time for healing. I only have time for peace
That's right.
and mindfulness and balance. And if I'm confronted with that struggle, challenge, obstacle, whatever you want to call it, I will, in each one of those, look for the peace, look for the resolution, look for the better choice. I don't have to be enmeshed in stuff.
So my sucky journey this year has been self-talk, getting through that. But my favorite analogy that I've created myself this year is me standing on a stage and I get to choose who's in the audience. So this is my life, my stage, and who am I going to allow in the audience? And I'm not allowing anyone who throws rotten tomatoes. Period. So I have a couple of life coaches that I work with off and on, and one of them said to me, so how are you going to get rid of them?
Throw those tomatoes back at him.
No, I said, well, maybe I need a couple of really cute bouncers
Yeah. Hey.
in my auditorium, you know. But everybody has a role. Everybody has a place and, you know, a position. I that analogy sounds a little haughty, but I mean, I've been working through self-talk, you know. So in my mind, everybody shares that stage at one point or another, but, you know, you have your own stage to stand on, so to speak, your own story to write, your own story to tell. So
Exactly.
you know, but if you can see that this is my stage and this is my audience, well, who do you want up close in your audience? You want your closest friends, the ones that are going to be cheering you on.
Yeah, you want the hecklers in the balcony.
Yeah, that's right.
You're up there for a reason. I can't hear you. Yeah.
You know, so that's been kind of my theme this year, I guess, is that whole analogy.
Well, I look at it, haters are always going to hate.
That's right.
They're going to hate you because you either hold them accountable or to being good people, or you got something that they want and they don't want to put the work towards what you have.
Right.
You know, and I was like, we have, you know, so many of us are looking for instant gratification.
Yeah. Here's one for you. Haters are gonna hate, but do they really hate or are they jealous?
Because it's jealous. That's what it really is. They don't hate.
Call it for what it is.
You know,
right?
Somebody's just jealous because you know, find peace or whatever.
Oh, that sounds like a hippie chick church episode.
Definitely.
I think we're gonna have to do some more hippie chick church.
I know, and I was
haven't
like,
done that in a while.
tis the season, because now, well, you know, COVID, I think, really messed with a lot of our minds.
It really did, but you know, look where we're at though.
I'm in a good place.
I mean, we actually expanded through all of this.
Definitely, we
You
have.
know, I mean, it's been a hell of a year.
We had a crappy couple of months shoved up in tiny living, and
But we survived.
Yeah, we survived. It really sucked. It was horrible. But we're back, expanded up again, and I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to growth. I'm looking forward to change. I'm looking forward to people living and breathing in a sense of integrity, that we can be open and honest with each other and love.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
all right.
I love that.
Okay, well, my mouth is very dry,
Okay.
and I need to take care of some business. My sons work at Stability, and this is how much they love their mother. This is by a company called Cosmic Brands, and it's their leap into edibles. So those of you that cannot utilize flour, which we normally smoke flour, edibles are an awesome alternative in your natural pain medication or natural pain management. And pain can come body, mind, or spirit. So often people might find themselves a little bit not understanding how cannabis works, and cannabis comes in 1,000,001 different forms. So when you go to your favorite dispensary, my sons work at Stability, so I'm going to toot that one today. Make sure that you ask your bud tender about the various strains and how they can help you live a naturally pain-free life.
And can I add in there that if your bud tender cannot tell you those things, go to a different dispensary.
Definitely. Your bud tender should be very educated on what each strain brings to the table and how it can help you live a healthier lifestyle.
That's right.
All right. So peace, love, and harmony, everybody. It's the breakfast show. Oops, and we did it at the end instead. Y'all still love us anyway, I know that. Rainbow, go away.